Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story about a woman driving on the 210 freeway in Pasadena one afternoon when her car was rear-ended by a pickup truck. The driver of the pickup, clearly intoxicated, tried to walk away, but she managed to write down his license plate before he drove off. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Got hit by a driver who ran away, and I just received a letter from a public defender asking me to remedy by civil compromise. In late August of 2018, I, 31-year-old female, was stopped due to traffic on the 210 freeway in Pasadena around 2 p.m. on a weekday when I was struck by a white pickup truck being driven by an older white male. The collision caused me to run into a white Mercedes being driven by a 30-something-year-old Asian man. He also had his infant son. During the collision, I hit my head really hard to the point where I went to the ER to get checked out for a concussion. While I didn't have a concussion, I did have a big bump and bruising, none of which I got pictures of. Furthermore, my 2008 Toyota Yaris was so damaged that the doors couldn't open properly and the car was totaled. However, after the collision, both the pickup truck and the Mercedes moved over to the emergency lane. My car had been hit into the emergency lane already. The driver's side of my car smashed closed, so I crawled over to the passenger side and had to push to get it open. I was disoriented, but trying to keep my calm, so by the time I got out, the guy who hit me had gotten out of his truck and was approaching me. The first thing he said to me was, "Those 10 cars are so weak, you just tap them and they crumple," as though he was annoyed with me. He also was clearly slurring his words and was very large and intimidating. I thought the best thing to do was to play nice and then call the police to get involved. So I told him that I hit my head and wasn't feeling well, so I was going to call 911 and sit in my car because I might pass out. He clearly stumbled to the Mercedes where the Asian man was getting out of his car. He was pulling out his son who was crying. The white man began talking, and the Asian man asked if he'd been drinking, because the man also clearly smelled like alcohol, before putting his son back in the car. As the man put his baby back in the car, the white dude turned around and began stumbling back to his car. I remember thinking that the man who hit us was going to drive away, so I picked up a pen and wrote down the license plate and every detail possible on my arm. When he drove away, he flipped me off. So I connect with the Asian man who's okay. The cops get there and take our statements. The baby gets checked out and he's okay, and the cop directs me to drive my car off the freeway. Once it gets to the downslope of the off-ramp, it becomes clear that my car can't turn and isn't functioning / dripping a lot of fluid, so we get a pickup truck to get it. My mom picks me up and takes me to the hospital because I have a big bump on my head. By the time we get out of the hospital several hours later, the cops have found the man who hit and run. I go to the police station and correctly ID him. A few weeks later, I go to pick up the police report to find out if the man has insurance because my insurance company's having a hard time finding it out. In the police report, I find out that the man said that I hit the Mercedes and that he only stopped to make sure we were okay. However, because I had a witness and it was obvious that my car had been hit behind, he was charged with a misdemeanor hit and run. Furthermore, because it took several hours to find him, he didn't have a high enough BAC to get charged with a DUI. He also is not turned in the truck, and to my knowledge, his insurance company and the policy have never seen it. Finally, he didn't tell the police he had insurance, so it took my insurance company a while to discover and contact his insurance company. My insurance company ended up giving my parents about $5,000 for the Toyota Yaris. My parents bought it for me for graduation, and it was in their name, which they gave me to apply to a new car. His insurance company, who waited to work with me for almost 2 months because they couldn't get statements from him, he's continued to deny he was involved, worked with me and paid for my medical bills for the ER visit, 12 hours of work time at $40 an hour, even though I make $75 as a private educator. They didn't like that. I didn't have an employer with a timesheet to show missed work and $500 for my struggle, which I didn't ask for but thought was cool. Then about a week ago, my parents and I got a letter from a public defender asking us to remedy by civil compromise. They gave me and my parents a paper to sign. It says, "Civil compromise. I, OP, declare as follows that I am a victim in the above entitled case. I will remedy by civil compromise. I do not wish to continue prosecution against the defendant. I have received restitution on behalf of the defendant, which fully compensates any losses sustained as a result of any actions of the defendant. Because full satisfaction has been made, I wish to have this case dismissed. I make this statement of my own free will and without any coercion, and I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. My parents have the same form, just with their names on it. Included was a letter that says if I sign this document, the state may drop his criminal case as well. I'm not after any more money, and I looked up the man, and I don't think he has anything of value anyway. However, this guy hit me and another man and a baby. Knew that I was in distress and that a baby could be hurt, was definitely drunk, whether the state acknowledges it or not, tried to blame me, and has done nothing to make the process easy on me or his own insurance company. I don't want to sign this because I want him to face consequences for his actions, and I want him to get help for his drinking. I want to make sure that I'm contributing somewhat to preventing him from doing this again, and there's part of me that wants to tell my own story and call out this a-hole to the judge. He's essentially begging you at this point to cut him slack because you got money from his insurance. By your own account, the guy tore off after realizing he messed up big time and lied to the police about it. No reason for you to do him any favors. And our second story. Unbelievable audacity. So part of my morning routine on my way to work at 5:30 in the morning is to stop at a little convenience store for coffee and a breakfast sandwich. While getting my coffee, I notice a woman behaving slightly strangely, staring at me while I get my coffee cup lid, knocking over a bunch while she got her own, just flustered in an odd way. I wrote it off. People aren't themselves so damned early. I get in line behind her. There are 4 or 5 people ahead of us, but the cashier does well moving the line. When Karen gets to the register, the show begins. She asks for a few packs of Misties or Virginia Slims or one of those cigarettes that are marketed towards older women who wear glasses on chains and smell like gin. The store didn't carry them. Well, I spoke to the manager, Melissa, the other day, and she said she'd ordered them on Monday. It's Wednesday. Where are they? Karen's voice was already raised. The cashier stayed calm. No one named Melissa works here, but all looking back. By this time, a considerable line had formed, mostly either construction workers, day laborers, or folks headed to one of the nearby factories. That is, people who didn't have time for this crap. Most, including myself, started grumbling. Apparently, this was a violation of Karen's most cherished pride. She turned around with wild eyes, which sharply contrasted against her Goodwill blouse and mom shorts. I waited in line behind 6 people, so now you all are going to wait for me. I don't want to hear a bunch of grumbling from some men. I heard some guy say, J-effing-C, and nice attitude, lady. Against my better judgment, I said, ma'am, we're all just trying to get to work. This was a disrespect most dire in the eyes of Karen. She gets into my face and says something along the lines of, I don't effing care. Not everything is about you. I can't remember the exact quote because nothing has made me so angry in public in such a long time. Now, I'm not a violent or mean person. I used to be. I pride myself on the strides I've made towards being nice. I pride myself on the strides I've made towards being a nice, friendly person. All I could do was laugh as my hand started seriously shaking with the effort to contain myself. She storms off. The cashier apologizes to me for the woman's behavior, which makes Karen stop and turn around at the door. Don't apologize for me, honey. I can handle myself. Apparently, one or more of the men were shaking their heads. Don't shake your head at me, she said, which was met with a loud, I'll do whatever the F I want. The cashier didn't charge me for my coffee. While I walked to my car, Karen leaned on her horn and waved at me. I'm so proud of myself for not giving in to my urge to make an even bigger scene. Some effing people. Who wakes up and decides to ruin strangers' days? There's a saying that I think is apropos to this situation. As bad as it was, it could be worse. You could be her. Imagine living every day in that squirrel's nest of a brain. And our last story. Landlord and son packed up my entire apartment while I was gone. Studio attached to main house. My landlady lives in terror of her attic son and lies to the police to cover for him. Sick situation. He came back to live with his mom, decided he wanted my apartment, tried bullying me out, attacked me twice, gaslighting me, terrorizing me for months. I got an assault charge finally, and order of protection is going through this weekend. Mother's Day, he came into my apartment with his mom's key, held me down, threatened my life, pushed me out. I came back a day later to my entire apartment packed up, all doors off hinges, including main door. Cops come, he speaks for his mom, says, "Officer, he helped us pack." Yeah, right. I'm getting my stuff and just moving out. This is too crazy to deal with. I did nothing wrong. He'll get my apartment, his mom will lose the rent she was making from me. Good riddance. It's a gorgeous, cheap studio, but not worth this level of insanity. I know this guy's a thief. He bragged to me about how he steals a couple of times. I just know he'll have taken some of my things. I'm sure he'll have taken my nicest things, like my really nice quality American flag, my box of old camcorder tapes I made growing up, my camera. I just know it. I'm terrified to be there, so I just looked in the fridge, and he'd taken all my more expensive frozen foods, and my nice lamp was in his garage. My mini fridge is gone. The cop said it was a he said, she said. He doesn't know if I helped them pack or not, but another cop in the department knows this guy's crazy, and he's the one who took my assault complaint after I showed him an audio recording of this guy in one of his psychopathic rants. The cop who was there, who didn't know the situation, said, "This is a civil matter," and told me, "Hey man, my ex-wife threw out all my stuff one day, and it sucks, but it happens." I handled it well, didn't call him an effing idiot, just said, "Okay," and left with my lamp. Update. So I sued them for illegal eviction anyway. They reimbursed for all damages, remaining time period for which the rent was already paid, my security deposit, moving expenses, etc. Also claimed the cost of inventorying all my stuff to make sure nothing's missing. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.